Hello, my name is David Bjerke. I'm the Director of Elections and General Registrar for the City of Falls Church. I've been working at Falls Church for 7 years, and before that I was working for Fairfax County, where I worked for about 2.5 years, especially in the presidential election of 2000. I'm here to talk about social media and how it can help election administrators, not only throughout the year, but also especially on Election Day. When I was in Fairfax County, which has, at the time, over 650,000 voters, we had lots of rovers, and we had a radio network, as well as GPS phones, and lots of ways to get out information to our election officers on Election Day. When I came to the City of Falls Church, I did not have nearly as much technology that I could rely on in order to get information out to my election officers on Election Day. So we have moved to things like texting on our smartphones and using Twitter and Facebook, as well as other social media that's available. So I'd like to talk to you about how you can use those social media to help your offices, especially if you're like the City of Falls Church, which is in Northern Virginia and is about 9,000 voters, 9,400 voters big. And we have, when I first got here, we had 5 wards or precincts. Now we have 3 wards or precincts, even though our population has gone up. But it was just better for the layout of our geography, which is only 2.2 square miles big. So this information is really for the smaller jurisdictions, because larger jurisdictions tend to have a budget where they can come out with apps and they can come out with lots of other technological needs to help them out. On Election Day, we use a combination of texting and Twitter, and I'll show you my Twitter account. Not that you need a Twitter account. But this is my Twitter account. You can also always go to twitter.com and just search for things, especially if you know what a hashtag is, and you can search for those issues on Election Day. But I have an account, and throughout the year I use my account to announce things that are going on in my office, you know, whether we have an electoral board meeting or we're getting ready to have the machines worked on, and we need to have the public aware of what is going on in those situations. Also, it helps candidates know when filing deadlines are. You can use Twitter for lots of these informations, where normally you would use electoral board meetings to advertise what is going on in the election world. We can use Twitter as another way of getting that information out, and it's a very live process. I'd like to talk more about using Twitter on Election Day, especially when it comes to line management. In our office, we've developed a system where we have a piece of paper and it says Line Buddy on the top of it. And it has on it times throughout the day that we're using it. So in an election where we think we need to know what the line wait time is on an hourly basis, it will have each hour of the election day. So in Virginia, we'll start polls open at 6 a.m. and we'll go through 7 p.m. So the Line Buddy will be labeled for a 6 a.m. all the way through a 7 p.m. with reports on the hour. And the Line Buddy will be given to either to an election officer, a poll worker, or we also use a page program. And the pages are not election officers, but they're essentially interns that we get from the local high school. Civics students who are not yet 18, they are not able to vote yet, but they are learning, and they are there to learn the process. So this is one thing that they can do, is that they can take the Line Buddy and they can give it to the last voter in line, and then tell that voter to give it to the election officer when they check in at the poll book station. So the voter will then take it all the way over to the poll book station, and then the election officer will take the buddy, write down the new time, and then give it to the designated person that will contact my office. In that situation, I usually have a chief or an assistant chief election officer that will contact us, and they'll contact us by texting us on our phones. So they'll have a phone, they'll text me the phone, we will have abbreviations. It's Ward 1, 2, or 3, so W1, and then there will be the time that voter waited in line. So they'll find out that they got in at 6 a.m., they were able to vote, they were able to get to the poll book station at 6:15 a.m., so it's a 15-minute wait at that time. So they'll add that in, they'll give me the texting on the phone, I'll see that it's 15 minutes, and I can immediately go to Twitter and type up Ward 1 has a 15-minute wait at 6:15 a.m. And we can do that hourly. It also helps with voter turnout, because in addition to that information of the wait time, they can also say we have now had 102 voters checked in. So we can say, great, 102 voters are also having voted. We can look at how many voters are in that ward. My Ward 1 has about 3,200 voters in it. I could do the turnout math on how many voters have shown up for that election, and then we can add them for all the wards and then also for all the absentees, and we can find out what the current turnout is at each time of day. My difference between Twitter and Facebook is I look at Twitter as what you are doing and Facebook as what you have done. So Facebook is not nearly as live. On election day, Facebook isn't necessarily as good as Twitter for getting information out immediately. On the other hand, I still use Facebook, and what I'll do is I'll just make a comment, make a post on Facebook, and then I will continue with that post under it. I will comment under that post and make it a thread, so that on election day, I'll say, Facebook, now is election day, here are our wait times, and every hour underneath it, I'll post that so that voters or the local press or whomever in your audience can then follow that post and get updates. Other social media that we have found useful is Instagram. It's mostly a picture-based medium. I think it's owned by Facebook. A lot of the younger users, the so-called millennials, are using Instagram. I haven't necessarily found a use for it on election day where a lot of people are following it, but I have found a use for it when we're doing activities in the office, whether it's campaign finance, whether it's getting the machines ready, whether it's a registration deadline. We can take pictures of our staff and our election officers working, and it really helps get the image out there that, hey, election administrators don't work just once a year. It is a year-long process to make sure that election day runs as smoothly as possible. There's also other social media such as Snapchat. I have tried to dabble in Snapchat. I cannot say I'm an expert in it. It is a medium that requires users to actually find you. I haven't found a good way to get out there in the open the way Twitter is very public, or Facebook can be very public. Snapchat seems to be more private, but Snapchat also has something called events, and I think that Snapchat could make Election Day a very interesting social media phenomenon if they were to make events at polling places something that that voters want to get up on Snapchat and snap themselves. They, take a video, 10-second video, 10-second picture of them at the polling place. But if you're in a small location, you're more rural, you don't have necessarily the budget for these kind of things, the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, these are all mediums that you can use and try to become a part of in order to really get information out to your voters and to your local media and not have other forces out there speaking on your behalf and maybe getting the information wrong. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I will have the contact information on the screen, and I hope your election day goes as smoothly as possible.